All right, welcome back, everyone. My name is Jake Hall, the Manufacturing Millennial, and with me is Chris from Manufacturing Happy Hour and our special guest, Matt Charles, VP at RōBEX.
That's right. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and most of the audience that doesn't know, let's start off with real quick. Who is RōBEX?
Yep. So RōBEX, we're a robotic integrator. We focused on custom solutions for the pick, pack, pal world. So that's really what's kind of gotten us into the mobile side of things, is we're developing robotic solutions to make pallets, and those pallets ultimately have to go somewhere. And so when I was at Mir, I worked very closely with RōBEX, and they were one of my biggest customers, and we were doing a lot with moving that pallet from the palletizer area to stretch wrapper, and then goes to outbound shipping. So putting conveyor decks on top of the mirrors, a lot of custom stuff that they're doing. We got a lot of the software side of things figured out, because that's kind of the hard part, is connecting to some of the PLCs that are out there and doing that. But we've got fleets of double-digit robots out there at a few different accounts. So a lot of experience in the mobile side of things. That's what's really kind of helped drive all that.
And we have a handful of topics we want to cover today with you. I think one of them is there's been some big news around RōBEX recently, and you sold to a private equity company.
That's right.
And I think we're curious to learn a bit more about what that looks like, right? I'm very familiar with what it's like when a larger manufacturer purchases a smaller manufacturer, if you will. But what does that look like? What are the goals associated with that? Fill us in a little bit, just from a high level.
Yeah, it's a good question, and something that I'm learning about as we kind of go through here. So we were acquired back in March, April time, from about when I started, by Angelus, which is a private equity group out of California. And at that same time frame, we also acquired an integrator in Tipton, Indiana, Midstate Engineering. So really kind of the mission is to use that backing that we have now from them to go out and acquire kind of like-sized companies. There's quite a few integrators in this space that are at that $20 to $30 million size and have just kind of plateaued there for years. And in order to really grow, and they'd have to invest a lot of money into sales and marketing and all those things. That's what RōBEX does really well. So we're kind of that platform that we're acquiring other integration companies and bringing it all together into the umbrella.
I want to jump on the marketing side. I think that's one of those things where I first started to see RōBEX was on social media a lot more, and I think Chris, the same thing as well. You guys have done a really good job bringing automation to the forefront of people's minds and showing there's a lot of cool applications that robotics can do and mobile robots can do that isn't traditional, the dark, dirty doll of manufacturing.
Fanuc Fridays as well.
Yeah.
You even have
you guys have
themes to the
Fanuc
stuff that you
Fridays.
do.
You guys deployed the store, your guys' shop was like a storefront, so big glass windows, big open work areas, kind of different from what the traditional manufacturing floor is. We have a 100-foot by 200-foot barn. And no, you guys are in a storefront where you have big glass windows where people could drive down the road and just see all the robots moving inside.
And people with strong personal brands as well, too. Craig Francisco, who's an alumni of the show. He had his own podcast there. I think he still does. You've done a lot of innovative things in that space.
Yeah, there's a lot of that we do. Cal Bowers over here, he does a ton with the marketing and just lead generation. That's really one of the unique things to the recipe of RōBEX, is that how much activity that we do generate from those. It's not just to get information out there. It's obviously trying to generate activity and projects and those things. And so it works out pretty well.
I always sensed something unique about RōBEX. I think you sensed it as well. And you got to observe them when you were at Mir before.
Right.
Yeah, you were a customer of them before you joined the team.
Yep. So, it's really unique because RōBEX, there's not a ton of integrators like that are focused, on the mobile robotics side of things. There's some very large players that, are doing connections to Manhattan and Blue Yonder, those systems, a lot in the e-commerce warehouse space. But when you talk about in the manufacturing world, deploying mobile robots and focusing on it, there's really less than a handful of companies out there doing it. So when I was at Mir, I built a strong relationship with Craig and Cal and the team over there, and it was extremely interesting. It's a unique spot to be in with a company that's they're still focused on their traditional pick, pack, pal world, but to have this focus on the mobile side of things is very unique. So
is there also like a vibe that certain companies give off as well, that you can be innovative, you can do cool things, but at the same time, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what it is that I sensed about the organization, and I'm also trying to help the manufacturing leaders that are listening. It's like, what are the intangibles that you look for in companies that stick out beyond just the tech and the applications?
Yeah, I mean, it's as far as like what I saw about RōBEX, or
and then maybe how we transfer that to other general advice.
So I mean, you mentioned Craig. Craig's an incredible leader for us, and just has that culture that's been built. As we've got a great team. We'll go out there, get the job done, have fun at the same time. So develop that kind of culture and just relationships with everybody within the organization. And I think it's a combination of all those things, just bringing that all together and having a great group of core people and just to have one mission as a whole. We're trying to go out there and grow and become a much larger robotic integrator than we are now.
It's a simple message, but great group of core people and have that common mission. And I think so many manufacturers don't communicate that as effectively as they could. And I think that just that one part of that sentence you brought up at least gave me a bit of an aha moment on what makes it.
So you've been in the industry for a long time, from distributor to manufacturer to systems integrator.
Yeah.
Over that period of time, what has some technology that you've just seen really be impactful to the people around it? Not necessarily the companies, but the people who work with
people
them.
near it. Yeah, it's. I mean, it kind of comes back a little bit to the labor challenge that everybody has right now, and you can look back. When we were working together, Jake, where you'd go into a facility and bring a mere robot in, set it up, and you'd get all sorts of questions from people. Hey, is this going to take my job? What's going on? Why are we looking at this kind of technology? And now it's changed so much. You bring a robot into a facility and you get a lot of attention still, but it's a much easier message for people to understand that, hey, this is something that's going to help me do my job better. And so I think that's just been a culture change that's happened over the last couple of years throughout COVID and labor shortages and great resignation, that kind of stuff. So I'd say, as far as actually helping people, it's all just about job satisfaction for these kind of systems, and trying to do those long runs of pushing a pallet from point A to point B. Keep that person in their space doing what people are good at doing, the picking and placing and whatnot, but allow the mobile robots to handle that transportation. And so people aren't walking as much, and a little bit better work-life balance there, I guess. So
Matt, you said another thing that jumped out, and Jake, maybe you can attest this. I feel like a theme in our interviews has been people aren't as surprised when a robot walks in the door the first time. And that's something we didn't necessarily hear in our interviews a year ago. Like, the reality is people are getting a bit more accustomed to it, right? They're seeing the benefits, and it's not like, oh no, a robot's here. It's like, oh, a robot's here.
Yeah, right.
Like that type of inflection in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we went on some sales calls together, and you bring in, and there would be so many heads that would be turning when you drove in a robot on your phone and move things around.
You
and
could
now,
feel the eyes looking at you.
Yeah, and now I feel like when you go on calls and you're talking about robots or you're showing off technology, you don't get a second look from a lot of people.
For sure, it's becoming much more standard in the industry, and we talked today, too, about Josh Clower and I think he was on the show, but we do a lot with Musion as well, and it's starting to have these kind of standard systems that you can bring together, where you have the mirror delivering the pallet, and kind of like they have in their booth over there. And like, when you start looking at that, and people being more accustomed to robotics in their environments, deploying these system-to-system type of deployments, it's much more powerful for them, where they can automate a longer portion of it. And it's the mixed case decal it's a rough job trying to do that, throwing 50, 60-pound boxes around. So we can help with the mobile side of things, delivering that to the Musion cell, and let their technology kind of take over that. But it's all kind of about the standard products that are coming out to the market, and more people being used to it and kind of applying it all together.
We appreciate you taking the time to jump on, share some insights. We covered some ground today.
Absolutely.
Some good, candid conversation about company culture to the state of robotics. Matt, always a pleasure chatting.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Yeah. Have a good one.
All right. We'll see you guys again soon.